Hello, this is Yansawa. I wanted to come at you all with a quick tutorial on this game. So basically I'm just going to play through and kind of explain some of the intricacies and stuff for anyone who wants to pick up this game and run it, or anyone who may have played the game in the past and thinks, hey, maybe I want to get back into the speedrun it a little bit, So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, you can hit escape and it skips past the front cutscene. So usually you want to be holding W when you hit escape. And one of the most important things in this game is bunny hopping. So if you are constantly jumping like this, you go slightly faster than base movement speed. Pretty simple, like a lot of other FPSs, bunny hops help you go fast. So as we go into this first room, I will show you a couple different ways you can do this. First off, you can actually hit this as far back as here, but it's pretty hard to hit from there, so not usually worried about that. But around the time you're here and you can see this crack, you want to start pushing it and you want to push it down twice. Now if you notice, you can jump again and you can actually see this block in the back. And if you want to, you can try to hit that block, but it isn't necessary to get full speed. I like to push this one up as I'm approaching it so I can jump onto it and start pushing. If you don't do that, then you have to wait the whole time. But if it's pushed up once, you can jump on it, and boom, you can do it as quick as possible. Now I want to mention another thing in this game. It's called buffered clicks, or at least that's what I call it. And if you notice, if you look at my inputs, I'm just holding down the click button. I can click this and like spam click, but if you just hold it down, it always buffers frame perfect clicks. Now that we have some basic information out of the way, we push this down twice before so you can jump on it. And you notice if I jump, I hit my head on the ceiling, but if you jump at just the right time, you can avoid hitting your head on the ceiling, which is great because what we want to do is we want to push this block out 3 times and jump on it. So all together, that should look something like this. And as I jumped on this, as you notice, I kept holding down click and I was able to push this block and jump over it. Now if you got this block sniped as you were coming up, then it would already be pushed out as you're coming up here. And in that case, I like to do something like this. And I push it again because it's actually just a little bit faster to jump and then not have to get caught on this wall. So as I'm jumping over it, I push it and I'm able to get caught on the wall a little bit less. Saves a very, very small amount of time, but not super important. If you miss the snipe through the window, it's not going to waste any time. Second room is pretty easy. There's a couple different ways you can do this. Gearkey likes to push this down. I push this down as he's coming up, and I'm not super practiced at that, but that's not what I like to do. I'll show you what I like to do on this section. You can actually get up onto this section here, and for that I just jump and hold W and A at the same time, and usually you can get up here pretty easily. And then when I land up here, I push this down. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to walk over it, get bounced, and actually hold to the right and try to land on this ledge up here. There I didn't do it, so let's see what happens whenever I do get it. And normally that isn't pushed down. Normally I click that midair. So I'm going to show you all what it looks like all the way through real quick. Oh, I messed up. Pardon me. That's probably going to be happening at least a couple times during this tutorial. So something like that. And then this, obviously, you just push it down and jump. Now here, I like to push that down 3 times. And then whenever you land on this, you can actually push it, or pull it in and jump at the same time to get a tiny little speed boost. Not necessary, but it does save time. As I walk into here, I like to click this and then walk over this, and it pushes me up. If you miss this, whenever you were coming in the room, you can actually just click it while you're up here, as long as you have better aim than that, and it doesn't lose any time. In here, the fastest way is to click this, and then hit this while you're jumping. Alternatively, if that feels weird to you, you can walk in here and press that first, and then this. But the first one is a little bit faster. This jump is probably the first tricky jump of the game, like the one that's most likely to kill early runs. And what you want to do for it is you want to kind of jump as it's reaching its apex. So there I actually jumped too late, and if you jump too early, you also can't make it. But if you jump at the right time, you can make it up. Alternatively, you can kind of stand at the edge here, and you can kind of use this smacking into you as a visual reference. I know some people find it easier to do it that way. So the easiest way to do this is to just stand on top of it first and practice the thing. But whenever you get good at it, you can actually kind of do like that, kind of get a running jump into it, which is the fastest way to do it. Going down this hall is pretty simple. You just want to push out the middle here and then the top one there as you're coming down the hallway. And then you jump here, and then you can kind of just jump off of, and then you can kind of jump off of these in a way to where you can get up here. You want to be bunny hopping down this hallway because it's slightly faster. And then in this room, you have a limited amount of time. You want to be hitting like this corner of the button, and in order to do that, I like to jump from about 2 blocks back. Once you're up here, you are going to stand on here, and we're going to use those buffered clicks I talked about. So I'm going to push it in and then immediately start clicking the push out button again while looking at the top block. And what's going to happen is it's going to retract and then expand while I'm like falling, and I'll actually be able to jump on this part first. Let me show you why that is. So like if you notice, whenever I push this, the bottom comes out first, and then the middle comes out, and then the top comes out. So as I push this in and then do that, you can actually jump off of this block before this one pushes you off. So let me go ahead and share that real quick. Just gonna go to continue real quick. Oops. If you do that right, you can just walk up that as it's rising. So this is the alternate strat that I showed you. And I'll just show the other way to do this real quick. Or I'm not as good at that one, let's just go. Y'all get that part. And then as we're coming down the hallway, push those, bounce, go up. Oops. It's easy if you just kind of jump here and then run across, but the most optimal thing to do is to take the shortest route, which is to try to kind of jump off this corner and get up here. That's the fastest line you can take, but it is a little bit riskier. So I just want to show you all what this looks like all the way through. You bounce off that, you land up here, and we're going to pull, push, hold down the push the whole time, and as it's coming out, we jump and we land on top here. And then we can jump on this one as soon as it stops moving, like that. If you try to jump too early, you will fall down there. And then I just do some more bunny hops, and I try to come in at the furthest right section here so that I have the least distance to walk. If you come in over here, it's a little bit longer distance. Say loses a little bit of time. You want to be trying to go in the most direct and straight route through all of these because it takes the least amount of time. This room is really simple. You just come up here, you jump over this. You should be bunny hopping down there. So we bunny hop, and this resets the green block. In this room, it's pretty simple. You get on top of the green block, and you just push yourself up, and you don't fail jumping like I just did. As you're coming down here, you can click this block by aiming in this little crack, and then you push this down. And here we have another trick that isn't too hard. Basically, whenever you're on these green blocks and you get bounced by a blue plate, they like conserve your momentum so you can get launched pretty high. So if you just stand on it like that, as you noticed I didn't get any height, but if you jump off of it, then all of your momentum all of the momentum of the box is transferred into your jump, and you can get up here. Coming in here, we do the same thing again. We push this 3 times, we jump on it, and we bounce up here. Sometimes if you are holding like 2 too far forward and your body like touches this, it'll kind of shorten your jump. Let me see if I can show that. Yeah, notice how that kind of killed my jump height? So I like to let off the W key as I'm making this jump. You can also get bounced higher and end up around where this is, but ideally you want to just get into the window without getting bounced up here because it allows you to go forward slightly faster. So that's what a mistake looks like, and that's what you want to see. There I bonked my head a little bit. Obviously that's less than optimal, but it still works. You're not going to lose that much time. Okay. As we come into here, you're going to see this play button, and it is possible to hit this play button ASAP, but if you do, you have to be very quick to get to this. Like if I click this and then I wait too long and I do this, then the ball stops rolling, and you do not want that. So I'm going to go to main menu real quick because the ball is kind of quirky. So this is what you want to do here. You want to push this up twice, push this, or alternatively push this, then this. They both do the same thing. So whichever one you feel better with. Then you want to push this out once, and as the ball is rolling over this edge and just about to start going down the ramp, you're going to push the ball. I'll show you that in a second. And then as the ball is coming down here, you want to click this as it's falling in, and the block will push it out over here, and it'll land here. Now, this ball can be a little bit finicky, so if you don't time everything well, then it can actually cause the ball to fly at bizarre angles, which can make this a common reset point in the run. Let's see what it looks like all the way through. Push, 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 push. I like to push this one down since I have time, and then right there you want to push. That might have actually been too late. So that was a little bit too late. Actually, no, that was fine. That was just barely on the edge of in time. But if you notice, it kind of bounced at like an angle. And that's because if you don't push at the right timing, then the ball like bounces around as it's falling into the yellow pit here. Often you'll see it fly too far to the right, or it'll go too far left, etc. Let me see if I can show you what it should look like. So here I'm going to try to push at the ideal timing, and that was not the ideal timing, so this is another example of a failure. That was too late. And the ball is a little bit weird, so I'm just going to reset the chamber if I mess up. So there we go. And then that is the end of Sector 2. Now going into Sector 3-1, we're actually going to have a little bit of a split in ways that you can do it, because there is a couple different ways you can do this next section, some of which are fast and risky, whereas others are a little bit safer. So first thing, as you're coming down this hallway, you want to try to like click this if you can, but it's not super important if you can't get it. The more important thing is as you're coming through and you see this little window, you want to try to click on this block as you're coming through. That basically saves you a little bit of time whenever you get up into that section there. But for now, I'm just going to pretend like I didn't click it. So as we're coming down here, we want to push this out. It only needs to be out one block, and then you want to be standing here and twist that. That is the safest way to do it, but you can actually start twisting this room rather early, so let me show you. That was actually poor execution, but that was a good timing. So if you kind of click it and jump, you can click as far back as like here and still make it onto the block without missing the twist. As the room's rotating, I like to push this out some, and then once you get up to this level, you can jump out. And from here, I'm going to show you the safe strat first, and then the slightly riskier safe strat, and then the actual risky strat. So as I'm coming through here, I push this, I push that twice, I push this, push that in the middle, and run over the block, and you'll land up here on the fully extended block. You twist, and then you jump in here. Oh, Now, the slightly riskier version of that is to push this and then push this only twice, and then as long as you do a jump where you are running and you jump and hit the cube, you should get enough distance to hit this with 2 pushes out instead of 3. If I just try to walk over it, you'll notice I do not get enough distance. This is because whenever you hit these bounce pads from a jump, you actually get more height than you normally would. So if you want to go for the safe strat, but you want to do the fastest version of the safe strat, it should look something like this. You do that bounce, twist, and then you can actually kind of jump up onto this ledge as it's turning, and it'll kind of boost you forward. Now for the risky strat. Whenever this is fully extended, it is actually possible to jump off of the very edge of this, the very, very edge of this. And if you have full running speed and you hit the very, very edge of this, you actually get just enough distance to barely land up there. I have a visual setup that I use for this, which is if I'm looking straight down, whenever this line is about to cross off the bottom of my screen, that's where I jump. So roughly here. Granted, I do it at a full run. So let me see if I can show you an example of that. This might take a few tries because this is a hard jump. There I jumped a little bit too late. There I definitely jumped early, and as you see, if you jump early, you do not get enough distance. That's probably still early. Yep. I can usually tell as soon as I jump based off of how the line looks. If I jump too early, I can see the line for too long. So let's try this again. That's too early. I'm not even gonna continue with that. There we go. So as you can see, I was able to tell as soon as I jumped if I got the right distance. If you get to that point where you can tell if you jump too early or too late, then you can kind of react midair. So let's say that I jumped too late. I can kind of go back here, twist, and then jump, and boing, land up here. Now, there is one issue with this, but it's pretty easy to solve. So if I come up here, I can push this down, 1, 2, 3. If you notice by the time I've hit 3, I'm already way too far to do that setup. So we can't actually push it 3 times if we're going for the jump if we want to do it at full running speed. So what we have to do instead is as we jump up here, push it twice, do the jump, and then in the air we push it out. So let me see if I can show that real quick. Like I said, this is a tricky jump, so give me a couple tries. If it's too bad, I'll edit this part out. Okay, so that was the right idea, but I jumped too early. There we go. So that's what that should look like ideally. And then just like before, you can actually retract this as you land on it to get a little bit of a speed boost going in here. Doing the fast strat saves a few seconds, so it is the ideal. So let's go ahead and move on. This is definitely something that is worth practicing if you want to get the fastest times, but most of the current runners are skipping it, and the world record actually skips the risky strat, so it is perfectly viable to just go for the safe strat at this point. Now as we come in here, I like to push this down and then twist the room, and then as we stand over this, we push up, and then we want to get up here. Now normally in order to do that, it involves doing a whole bunch of stuff with like standing on top of this red block and then falling and hitting this blue bounce plate. That takes too long. We don't want to do that. What we can actually do is if we twist this, you'll notice that the blue block kind of goes there, but there's a second where it's like right here and it's actually close enough to be jumped on. So if you notice if I twist back, it doesn't take too terribly long. Now, what I do for this is I have a specific setup. I look at the button, stand like roughly here, not on the far right hand side of the block, but like, you know, more on the left side. It's not too precise. And I click, I start walking backwards, and I jump like kind of in a semi-rapid succession. Oops, I actually missed the jump there. And then as soon as you hit the bounce plate, if you looked at my inputs, you would have noticed that I started holding W and D basically as soon as the sound happened. If you wait too long, then you do not get enough height to actually make that jump. or you don't drift far enough. So there, if you noticed, I held back for too long and I didn't get nearly enough distance. Now another thing is, as I said before, whenever I click on this, the left side will raise first, or if I click on this side, the right side will raise first. So you can actually stand like here and click on it and it'll raise you up as you're walking over it. So you have like a little bit of time, and the fastest way to do it is to try to just barely catch this. Once you're up here, you do that. Oh, I forgot to push the block back in. So hold back, jump, and then start holding W and D, and you can air drift in. Pretty simple chamber once you've practiced it a bit. Coming into this next section, there is once again risky strats and safe strats. First off, I'm going to show the safe. So the safe strat looks like this. You hold down, you push twice, you hit reload, and you keep holding down, and then you aim back at the red block. I'm going to show that one more time. Bunny hopping down the hallway, of course. So push, push, reload, keep pushing. And if you do that, it glitches the block out and it actually extends farther than it'll normally go. Normally it'll only be in line with this wall, it won't stick out past it. But if you do that, it is very easy to jump over here. Now, this is because the game is having a hard time figuring out where the red block should be as it's reloading if you hold down the buffered clicks. If you press it once, reload, and then push it out, it'll do something like this. So basically nothing. It'll be like a default block. And this is where it'll normally land. So one push is not enough. Let's go ahead and reset that. If I push it out 3 times, and then reload, it will do some wonky stuff and it'll actually go too far in the wall and out stuck. So you want to push twice, reload, and then push 3. Now, that's what you do for the easy strat, and that's what I recommend you all do whenever you're first learning this game. But if you have that down and you want to do something a little bit more risky, there are a couple other ways you can do this. I'm going to show you the useful risky strats, and then I'll show you a strat that's both risky and bad. How does that sound? Awesome. So we're going to click this out 3 times, and then push this up, and in doing so, we have like a little bit of space to walk here. And what I like to do is kind of line my body up on the edge here, and look roughly here where my reticle is just to the right of where this block is. And if I hold forward and jump at just the right time, I can actually make it over here. This is a difficult jump, so forgive me if I don't make it first try. I made it first try, I'm sorry. But yeah, you also don't need this section. You can do it purely with only this, doing roughly the same thing, but it is much harder. The tricky part about this jump is, as you saw there, I actually bonked off the side, so it's hard to avoid bonking off the side and getting enough distance. I know I'm making this jump look easy, but it's really not. And if you go too far out to the side, you don't get enough distance. It's also possible, but extremely hard, to make the jump without this block at all. There is a video of Q.U.B.E doing it, and I don't know, it looks like magic. I have no idea how he got enough distance. He's a god gamer, that's how he did that. But I find it easiest to do both of these. Once again, I line up on the edge like this, look roughly there, and bada bing, bada boom. Now, the other, there is another easy strat. I'll show you all that real quick. If you push the block there, and then push that up, you can actually get a little bit of a height boost, which makes the jump a little bit easier than just trying to jump off the yellow piece. However, this still is not necessarily an easy jump, it's just easier. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, I'm not gonna give up on that, it's annoying. Alternatively, you can get boosted by this box by doing something like that. Similar to how in Sector 2 we launched off the green blocks, you can actually launch off the green block here and make it boom. So I don't recommend that last strat, I recommend the first 2 strats. From here, we want to push this up, and then as soon as you start clicking this, hold down buffered clicks, and you will get a frame perfect jump like this, and you'll get up here. Now, I just want to slow down and show you all what I just did. So if we twist up here, and we stand on this little block and we try to jump up here, we don't get enough height. We can't make it up. So what we need to do is twist the room, and as the room is twisting, the red block will raise, and if we just stay on it, it'll kick us off. But if you notice, I was able to stand on it for a pretty decent amount of time there. So you have a pretty big window where as the red block is rising, you can jump over there. Oops, there I went too late and it actually ate my jump. It's also possible to get over there without jumping at all. Let me see if I can show you all that. It's a little bit harder to do it without jumping, but it is possible. I've done it before. Like that. So you don't even need to jump to make that. Pretty simple. And then we just want to take a nice line, pretty direct, and do our bunny hops. And as we come into this room, first priority is to hit this button as soon as possible to get the ball going. After we press the button, we want to push that twice, wait till the ball can get hit by this, and then push it forward. It'll go into the hole just good. And we can actually jump over all of these walls as they're coming down. If you notice though, this went back in the wall after the play button happened, and that'll happen for all of these. So as you're jumping over these walls, the thing you were standing on before will retreat behind, away from you. In Director's Cut, that doesn't happen, but in this game, the thing you're standing on will sometimes mess you up. So as you're going over this wall, I'm actually gonna reset to main menu real quick. Do some bunny hops. So as we're going over that wall, first priority is to hold down right click to push the blue block into the floor, and then we're gonna jump and push the red block twice. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a second. Just like that. So whenever you are doing buffered clicks, you can switch back and forth between left click and right click, but it takes longer to switch from left click to right click than it does to just keep spamming left click or keep spamming right click. So it's fastest to actually push this one down with left click and then double press this with, or I'm sorry, push this down with right click and double press this with left click. That's faster than doing something like push, push down, push, because you have to switch twice. So you want to minimize the number of times that you switch. The next thing is this wall is about to lower, and in this version of the game, which is version 1.0, you can actually jump through this green area. It doesn't have collision. In later versions of the game, that was patched. So if you want the version that's best for speedrunning, you want this version right here, which can be acquired by going to the Q.U.B.E Discord. So I wasn't fast enough there because I hit pause, so I'm just gonna reset again, just so I can show you what that looks like. Now as we go through that little green wall, I'm gonna be looking at the left, twisting the room, and then pushing the red ball, and then twisting the room back. So I push this, push, push, push. Jump over, left click, right click, right click. As soon as it starts lowering, we can jump through. I'm going to push this, push, 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 just like that. And then we're going to jump over this wall before the block behind us goes away. And what I do here is I push this, and then I retract this one right here. I'm going to have to reset a couple times on this section in order to explain everything, because a lot of it happens very fast. So after I jump over the wall, I push yellow, and then while buffering clicks, I just switch to twisting the room, and then I push the blue button down so the ball bounces it into the yellow stairs as the room is twisting. So once again, I twist this, push, twist back, push, push. I'm gonna jump over the wall, I'm gonna push yellow, purple, then blue. And if you miss the first time, you're actually okay. We're gonna try to jump over this wall. I messed it up because I was doing the thing. But normally you can stand on this as the wall's dropping, and you jump over that wall. And then there's two ways to do this. It's basically the same route, it's just there's a slightly riskier one and a slightly safer one. So the safe one is to push this first, because as the room's twisting, you notice the ball falls there, and we want it to go in here, so push it back. When we push this up, it's going to put the ball in there. If this was not pushed and we twisted the room, then the ball gets stuck here, and then we have a problem, because no matter what we do, we can't get the ball into the hole. It's just gonna stay there. So we want to avoid the ball being over the red block. So we want the red block to be extended. However, we can actually twist the room first and then hit the red block as it's twisting. So let me see if I can show you that. So we're gonna twist, push the red block, and the ball lands there. This is slightly faster because of the fact that we aren't pushing this first and then twisting the room. We're twisting the room immediately, and then we're doing another action as the room is twisting. You want to do as many actions as other actions are happening, because that saves the most time. However, as I said before, this is a little riskier, because if you can't click the red block in time, you end up in this position. So let me see if I can show you. Y'all basically already saw what the safe strat looks like, so let me see if I can show you the risky first try. I might miss it, which is also a great instructional thing, because if you go for the slightly riskier strat and you miss, then it takes a lot longer to reset. So press, push, push, wait till ball hits, then push. Jump over, right click, hold down left click. As it drops, jump over, twist, push, twist, push, push. Jump over the wall, push yellow, push purple, push blue. Come over here before the wall falls. Jump over the wall, twist, push red block, twist back. And then the last step is to just go through here. Sorry if that seemed a little bit tedious going through all those again. I just wanted to make sure that all of the options were explained. Now this next section, we're going to continue doing ball puzzles, where the ball is rolling down the hill and we're manipulating it as it goes. But we also have the ability to respawn the ball using this button right here, which is a play button. So you'll see the ball drops. If I hit the play button, the ball disappears and it comes back and it falls out of this hole. But I want you all to notice something. I'm going to make it to where you can see both the ball and the play button at the same time. Something like that. And after I click the play button, there will be a few frames or a few moments where the ball is still on the screen. So click. Oops, sorry, did that too early. So look at it, click. You notice there's like maybe a quarter of a second there where it's still around. So you can actually press this button earlier than you think you can. And the goal here is we want the ball to go through these colored blocks because it changes the color. So just to show you, it bounces over this, it's going to hit blue, and it's going to fall into the blue trigger volume. All of it needs to happen is for the ball to touch that volume. It doesn't need to fall all the way through. If any part of the ball touches these barriers, then it triggers the thing. So because of that, we can actually go pretty fast here. So we're going to push that down. We're going to wait for the ball to go over. It bounces. And it's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'm actually going to press the play button there. And if you notice, it triggered it. Everything's good. Even though I kind of pressed the play button maybe a little earlier than you think I might have. I'm going to do this. For a run, the easiest way to do this is to push this. It bounces over the green and it goes in. And what you want to do is after it goes over the blue block, I'm going to do blue real quick. After it goes over the blue block, you want to press the play button before pushing this back down. because it's a little bit faster. You noticed I was able to press play pretty quickly. Oops. Okay. So I hit play first, and then I push that down because it's a little bit quicker than pushing the red block down first. For this one, it's pretty simple. We just want to press that as the ball is rolling over this place right here. So as soon as the ball touches this, you want to click here. Maybe even a little bit before. So now that I've kind of explained the basics of how the play button works and how you can use the few frames before the ball gets teleported. Oh, I'm just acting on muscle memory and not explaining this. Now that I explained those things, I can kind of talk a little bit more about how to save time in the next section. But for this little piece right here, what you want to do is you want to push this down. I like to go a little bit right here, and then hold D as I strafe to the right, push this, and then whenever I'm right about here, I'll start walking forward and get bounced like that. You don't necessarily have to do that. You could just walk into the plate and then air strafe into the button, and that works just fine. Let me show that. But one of the tricky things about that is as soon as you get bounced, you want to be holding towards this button to get the quickest bounce off of this. So like if I don't immediately start holding left, you notice I can't make it at all. And if I do it a little bit slower, you'll notice it takes a little bit longer to get over there. So it's actually easier for me to consistently get this by walking right about here and then just walking forward. So I'll show you what that looks like all the way through. So we come through here, start strafing left, just hold forward whenever you're right about where the block is, and you're good. Now coming into this room, the first thing you want to do is hit play. The second thing you do is you want to push this block down. And then the third thing you want to do is as the ball is just about to hit the ground, you want to start twisting this room down. So let me show what that looks like. Go a little bit back, or as far back as it lets me. So boom, boom. So if you do it too early, you actually don't hit the block. So there I twisted too early because I wanted to show you what it looks like to twist too early. Now let me show you what it looks like if you twist kinda late. So I'm gonna wait for the ball to roll a little bit. And if I do that, you notice there's a significant amount of time where the ball is just kind of stuck in this corner before it gets bounced out. And all that time that it's stuck in there is lost time. So the ideal thing is for the ball to just barely start to get to around here by the time the room stops spinning. Let me see if I can show you a good example of that. So go back to the beginning. Push down, and then right as it hits the ground, twist. And that should be perfect. You don't have any lost time, it just bounces off and you're good. I want to show that one more time. And then we'll look at the next one. So optimizing this chamber is all about doing every action as soon as possible. Right as it touches the ground, I twist. That is just enough time for it to bounce. It will go over here, it'll bounce off the wall, and then it'll go into the thing over here. Now remember, I can hit play early, so I don't want to hit play once it's already hit the trigger volume. I want to hit play as it's getting right around here. Usually right around here, it'll be able to finish the rest of the trek while it's respawning, while it's teleporting back. Give me just 1 second, I want to get some water. Sorry about that. My throat was starting to get dry and crackly. Alright. So I'm going to try to show that principle on the next one. So after we've done that, this will be pushed out because it just bounced the ball over there. So the next thing we want to do is push this in as the ball is rolling to the goal. And as soon as it's about to hit, we press play, and then we're going to twist this right as the ball hits the ground. And that gives enough time for this to hit here. Now I could have actually done that a little bit earlier. You notice there was a couple milliseconds where, or tenths of a second, where the ball was kind of caught in the corner. But when you do that, it'll bounce over the blue and go into yellow. I'm going to do that again and try to do it a little bit quicker to show you what it should be. So press that, and then right as it's about to hit the ground, I twist. There, it got caught up again, so let's try again. This is way too early, and this is what it looks like if you do it too early. It doesn't get the twist it needs. You can also look up here, but don't twist it that way. That was a mistake. So I'm actually like doing really bad at this timing right here. I'm so sorry. That was too early, but it was just barely too early. If you notice, if it goes through both of these, it turns green. That's going to be important in the next section. I don't know why I'm doing so bad at this timing. There we go, that's better. So there it hung less. But in these sections, you can't start twisting the room until it hits about where this edge is. Okay. And like I said, you can hit the play button way earlier than I'm hitting it here. As the ball is rolling down there, you want to twist this room up to set up for the next section because it is easier to do it. If I don't do this, I'll show you what it looks like. If I just left the room as it was, and then as the ball's coming down, do this, then the ball actually gets either hits the front of this if you twist early, or it gets caught here if you twist late, which wastes time. You don't want to do that. So after you've done the yellow, it's bounced over here, gone into yellow, you twisted it over, it goes there, you hit play. Oh shit, I did that wrong. You hit play, and then as it hits the ground, you twist. And if you do it right, it'll actually continue its momentum through here. So if you do it early enough, it actually doesn't lose speed, and it comes through here a little bit quicker. That timing is kind of tricky to hit, but it is definitely possible, and it does save time if you can hit it. See? And then here, you just twist that as soon as the ball can make it. And whenever the balls are here, you can actually twist these right as it's about to go off, and it'll kind of bounce the ball off, and it'll go slightly right. It won't hug the wall like it normally does, it'll kind of hug a little bit to the right. And I'm actually going to show you how that can be useful in the next room. Not this room. This room is really self-explanatory. You push that down, you push that down. As you're walking over, you push that down. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Oops. Don't air drift while doing this. If you air drift while doing that, you'll miss like that. As I come in here, this one is one where you actually have to be a little bit more careful. So I'm going to show you what happens if I press the twist button too early. So our goal is to push the block off of this to combine blue with red, and you notice it was too far to the left. This block did nothing. It did turn blue, but the block did not push the ball over here to turn red. That's because I twisted it too early. It is actually possible to hit this timing. Let me see if I can show you what happens with the too early twist. So in order to hit this timing, you actually have to push this out once, and then hope that whenever you push this, it doesn't go too far to the left like that, to where it runs into the red. It is very tricky to hit that timing, so I don't recommend going for it unless you are looking to save just like tiny amounts of time. Let me see if I can do it though, just to show what it looks like. Okay, there we go. And then I hit this. I can hit this early, as I said before. And I want to show you all what it would normally look like. Let's just pretend that didn't get hit. So normally I like to wait until a few beats after it's hit the ground, because when you do that, it'll actually hug the wall like this, and it is much more consistent to get it over here. It is possible to hit it with the early timing, but it is, I think, a lot easier to hit it like that. So decide whether or not you want to go for the risky quick twist or the more safe slow twist on that specific one. For the rest of these, though, we can actually go very early. So let's do orange next. Or not orange. We do green next. So for green, we want the ball to hit this yellow, and then we twist it over here, and we want it to hit blue, and then we twist it again to get it over to green. But we can twist this like really early. Like here, let me show you. So we can twist it like here, like as it's falling before it even hits the ground. And if we do that, it actually kind of goes at an angle here. It doesn't get caught in the edge at all. Then as it comes in here, after it's hit yellow, we twist it back this way, and then it'll hug this wall and come down here, and then we twist it back the other way. But if we actually press this as it's rolling, it'll kind of bounce off and it'll go a little bit left, and we can twist this just a teensy bit earlier. So let me show you the kind of the first way, and then I'll show you that thing that I showed you where it's a teensy bit quicker. So this one you can hit kind of mid-fall. Twist, and then I'm going to do the, oop, I did that wrong. But normally whenever you click this, it'll like push the ball up and it'll kind of bounce over here instead of over here. And that allows you to start twisting this room quicker, because if you twist too early, oh, I did that wrong. If you twist too early, then the ball gets caught up against this wall right here. Let's try that again. Oops, I did that the wrong way. So I click it mid-fall, like that. It hits yellow, twist, twist, oop, I missed the timing again. Oh well. Normally this isn't too hard. Mid-fall, twist, twist, and you see that kind of bounces it off, and it actually allows us to twist this room a little bit earlier. That part isn't necessary. You can completely skip that. You don't need to do the little twist thing I just did there to bounce it off. It's not going to save you too much time, and it only saves you time if you click this earlier than you normally would have if you didn't go for that. Now for the last one, it's pretty straightforward. The room's usually going to be in this position, and it's basically the same thing. We click this mid-fall because we want it to turn yellow, and that's the quickest way to get it to turn yellow. And then as soon as the ball crosses this line, I press that, and you have a pretty generous window to hit this, which concludes Sector 3. Now Sector 4 is split up largely between, or I'm sorry, that was Sector 4. We're going to Sector 5, which is split up largely between a dark area where you can't really see much, and magnet puzzles. So like, it's kind of like a dual sector. But you can actually get stuck at the top of this elevator for a few seconds. It doesn't lose any time, and it looks really cool. Let me see if I can show you how that looks. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I like to count to 6. Usually that's good, and it lets you stand on an invisible wall. Then you want to be bunny hopping down here. Bunny hopping saves about a second, and I like to shoot at the little corner here. I don't know if your screen is able to pick this up, but this block, you can push it up before it turns red. It's not super important as long as it's up by the time you get here, because you want to jump, push, and then as you're running up here, you want to click this as you're walking over it, and it'll kind of like do like that, and you can jump at the top. Now going into this room, we're going to skip part of what we need to do by doing a kind of semi-precise jump in the dark. So as we're coming in here, I click this, and then I hold down click, and I push this as I'm running forward. This is where we're planning on landing, but it's going to be in the dark, so you kind of have to get a feel for it. And then I push this, and I push down on this, and I want to show you what happens if I just kind of try to run forward and go there. not nearly far enough. If I push this down and make this glow, you can kind of see better. You just don't get nearly enough space. But like I said earlier, you get more air if you jump off of the button. But if you notice, that wasn't enough either. Here, let me show you with the yellow lit up. Oops, I accidentally got two. I accidentally did it right. So just jumping off of it doesn't necessarily give you enough height either. You want to specifically jump off this region of the blue cube. There's a couple different ways you can do this, but what I like to do is I like to use this little thing as like a visual marker, and I like to jump right as I'm passing it. And if I jump right as I'm passing it, usually I can land on this corner pretty well. So something like this, and then I just air drift left, and that lands me here. Let me show you that one more time with the yellow lit up. Usually you won't have the yellow lit up, but I jump right as I'm passing this, and then I air drift left. It's a little bit harder to do when the blue button is not visible, because they also kind of use the blue button as a visualizer. But yeah, this is basically what you're doing in the dark. You jump up here. Going into this section, there is the easy way, and there's a way that's slightly faster and not too risky. I'll show you the easy way first. Easy way is to push this, and then wait for it to settle, and then jump over it. If you try to jump at the wrong time, you kind of bounce your head off the wall and you fall short. But if you jump at just the right time, you can actually avoid bonking your head, which is the slightly riskier way to do it. Oops. And I'll show you what that looks like. Something like that. So like for that, I try to push it and I try to jump off the cube as it's rising, because you don't want to jump off of it when it's already at the peak of its rising. If you do that, you get smacked into the ceiling and you fall down. But if you do it as it's rising and it's like maybe mid-height, you get high enough to get up here, and that is the quickest way to do it. Not too hard either. Now in this next session, I like to go a little bit left. Click this first, and the reason I like to go left is because you can see this button earlier. If you're over here, you have to wait until you're here to see this. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to twist the room. While it's twisting, we're going to look at red, and that's going to light this panel up here to the left on. We want to push this up 3 times to where it's all the way at the top. And if we look at the blue button, it's here in the side, but it actually has a little ledge we can stand on. So if I just jump over here, there's a little ledge we can stand on right here. Now, normally, if I just run forward, I don't get enough distance, right? Normally what the game wants you to do is it wants you to land over here on the yellow cube, like something like this. But that's slow, so we don't want to do that. Here, this is what the game wants you to do. Oops, I did not jump. The game wants you to do something like this and land on the yellow over here. What we're going to do instead is we are going to take advantage of the thing that I said about whenever you're jumping, you get extra height, and you can actually avoid the yellow thing altogether. So we're going to jump over here, land on the ledge. I missed the ledge because jumping in the dark is hard sometimes. Alright, so we're on the ledge. And now once we're on here, I'm going to push this down and I'm going to jump. And whenever I jump, I'm going to start holding forward. And as long as I hold forward enough, I'll be able to make it over here. Now that didn't work because I didn't hold forward quick enough, I guess. There we go. I like to push it down, jump, and then at the apex of my jump, start holding forward. If you immediately start holding forward, you actually just jump over the button and you don't get bounced. So you want to make sure you hit the button while holding forward and while having that jump height in order to get just enough height to land up here. This next section is basically just a basic puzzle, so you want to do it as quick as you can with buffered clicks. The way you do this puzzle is you press this, push, push, and the block is here. Then we want to go here and we want to push the center because that'll push the bottom out 1 and the block will be here. And after we push it, we want to buffer a push back in click. Then we go here and we do 2 buffered clicks like that. And then while we're buffering, we can actually aim up here, click purple, or not purple, yellow. look over here, and we do that. And what that does is it actually pushes the block over here to where it's kind of barely hanging on. It's like half off. Then we push this up. I'm sorry, we only push this up once. So we push it up like that. And then you can actually slide this block underneath it without it getting knocked off. And then when we push this off, it's only sitting on this block, and we can push it in twice. And as long as this block touches this green area, it's considered a success. I'm going to reset this to show you all what it looks like at full speed. So we go boom, buffer click, I'm just holding, oops, I actually did that wrong, sorry. I'm just holding click the whole time. So push, 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 pull, push, 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 pull, pull, pull. And it'll land right about there, and that will lower this little section here. I like to kind of, here, let me just reset it real quick. Oops. It's very easy to forget to push this back in if you're not thinking, or if your brain stopped working or something. And as I push this, I'm already going to be strafing to the left to go through the door as quickly as possible. Now we get a little checkpoint here, which is going to be useful because this next section, there's a couple different ways you can approach it. I'm going to show you the fast way first because that's really what you should be going for. All the backup strats are significantly slower than the fast strat. So earlier I showed you how you could kind of jump off of a green block and get launched up. Well, this elevator kind of has a similar property. If you jump at the right timing, you get launched way higher than you normally would. So let me see if I can show you that. See how I get launched really high there? There's actually a blue block that we can land on here if we jump at the right timing. So I'm going to aim for that blue block. I didn't get quite enough height because I jumped at the wrong timing. That's a very common way to mess this up. This is one of the harder tricks to do in the game. Messed it up again. Oh, real quick, for menuing in this game, the fastest way to menu, and this will be relevant later, the fastest way to menu is to hit escape, down, down, enter, right, enter, and then you get sent back to the main menu, and you can hit up, enter to hit continue. And if you do it quickly enough, it looks something like this, which is very quick, as you can see. You can even do it faster than that. Ah, damn, I keep missing this. Okay, there we go. So once you've jumped on that blue block, you can jump over here onto these buttons. And if you hit the purple, you'll see you have these little room twisty things. Now our goal is to actually get up there. This is the hallway we want to get to. And these twisty rooms have an interesting property. If they try to twist into where you're standing as you're jumping, the game gets kind of confused, so it tries to push you up, and in doing so, you actually get enough height to land up there. Now, if I just jump normal, you see I don't get nearly high enough. But if I click this and then jump right after, I'll be able to get enough height, and sometimes it's kind of finicky, sometimes there's like a little ledge you'll land on, and if you jump quick enough again, you can get into the hallway. But let me kind of show you what that looks like. So I'm going to click and jump, and there I did the thing with the ledge that I talked about, so I had to jump again, but that actually puts you in this hallway that you want to get to. And that'll be relevant later as well. We will see that be relevant later. But basically, as you can see, the room's kind of twisting. You can tell from the silhouette kind of where the ledge is. And as you're jumping, it kind of pushes you up here into this corner, and sometimes you just land up there and you're good, and sometimes you land on the wall as it's twisting and you need to jump again to get up there. It just kind of depends on how you land on it. But that's the fast strat. So you do the elevator launch, you land on the blue, you jump over here, you twist the room and you jump at the same time and you land up there. There is a backup strat to this, which maybe you want to learn while you're still getting like your feet wet, because like I said, this is one of the harder tricks, but ultimately you want to avoid having to do this because it is significantly slower. The backup strat is to grab this and push out the yellow. Then you want to hit purple and you want to twist this, and that'll actually move this blue button and it'll move it here. And there's a little ledge you can stand on right here. Then you push this in and you can jump onto the blue button. And once you jump onto the blue button, it'll bounce you up, you'll hit this. And then if you're looking at the doorway and holding forward, you can actually just kind of aerial drift in there. So let me show that. Normally you would have this. So there I actually missed it. It is a little bit tricky. And there I got it. If you're having trouble with that, you can actually make it a little bit easier for yourself by twisting this room, making that red and pushing that out. And then if you don't get enough of a launch, you land on the red thing and you can kind of get over there just fine. So let me show that real quick. And you end up landing on this red block. Oh, it's not red. Which one is red? Is it this one? Yeah. You land on this red block and you're good. But I'll show you one more time without the red block, because like I said already, this is really slow. You don't want to be doing the slow version of the slow trick, ideally. So that's what the backup strat looks like. I want to show you all what the main strat looks like one more time. Might take a couple tries. So we land on the blue box, we hit purple, which is the last one, click, jump, and there I actually did not get it. So now I'm still standing here. And since I'm standing here, if I try to twist the room, it'll actually push me off. So what I like to do is I like to kind of jump onto the blue block. Normally I don't see where it is, I just kind of know where it is because I have a feel for it. I twist this back here, and then I come over here, click, jump, and that time I didn't even need to do the second jump, I just got up here immediately. So that is what the ideal setup looks like if you, that's what the trick looks like if you kind of mess up the second part but don't fall down onto the ground. You can kind of recover doing that. Now as we come in here, you can like try to click this and try to like click this button from far away, but that's significantly less important than hitting the play button as soon as possible, and it's over here to the right. So as I'm walking down this hallway, I kind of straight right and I hit that ASAP. And then I push this, and then there's two ways to kind of do this. The first way is to push this 3 times, and then push this 3 times while standing on it. You want to be standing on it the whole time. Alternatively, a slightly faster way, a slightly faster way is to actually have this pushed up too, and then push this, and when it hits this and it kind of comes to a rest, then you can push it 3 times. I actually don't know 100% which one of those two is faster. But as you go through this, here, I actually need to reset real quick. But as these walls are lowering, whatever button you pressed last will be kind of delayed. So I want to see if I can show you this. You can also do this without pressing that twice, but you have to wait just a little bit longer for it to come to a standstill. So I'm going to try to push red immediately as this wall is coming down, and you'll see what the problem is. Nothing happens. As you see, there was like a good like 1 or 2 second delay before you could press red. But the way we get around this is we actually click yellow as we're jumping over the wall, and you can immediately click yellow. It doesn't give you the same lockout period. The reason why this is because like the red blocks, or the whatever color was last selected as you finish the chamber, is temporarily frozen in the next room. So if I did want to go red, then as the room's falling, I could switch to yellow before the trigger happens, and then I'd be able to press red immediately. But that's kind of annoying, so we just go for yellow as we jump over so that we avoid that little lockout period. So I'm going to show you kind of what this looks like all the way through. Oops. Yeah, the ball rolled really slowly that time. Don't press yellow, and you notice I can press it immediately, and by then I can press reds again. Push this 3 times, it goes over the wall. We're going to do the same thing with the yellow here, but we're going to push the middle this time. We're going to push down blue, and then we're going to do this. Just like that. You can also press blue first and push down blue and then switch to yellow and push the middle of yellow. It doesn't matter which one you do as long as you're not using red. And then as the ball goes through the hole, red's going to be locked out again, so we're going to click a different color. In this instance, I like to go for purple, and I like to kind of follow the ball over the wall, but there I kind of messed it up. So I click purple, and just so you know where the ball is, if you hit green, you can see where the ball is. So it's like roughly there. And there's a yellow plate here. And we need the ball to be on the right-hand side of this yellow plate, because the way that we solve this is we have the ball here, we twist the room up, and then the ball will kind of like go down these stairs and into this hole. So what we want to do is first want to twist the room so the ball's in this bottom corner. And then we're going to push here, and then we want to switch to red, and we want to push this out 3 times. Also, if you wanted to be safe, you could push this out 3 times as well, but we don't need to do that, and I'll show you why in just a second. We only need to push the first one. Then you want to stand all the way against this back wall, like so. Switch to purple, twist, and that'll put both you and the ball down here in this corner. And that's right behind the yellow block. And then when we twist again, the ball is going to roll down these, like I said before. But I'll show you what happens if we just twist. I'm going to turn on red real quick just so you can see. It'll actually roll off. So what we want to do is we want to push this as it's rolling. So let's go ahead and kind of reset the chamber real quick, and I'll show you how this should actually look all the way through. Yellow is there, right? Okay. So this is kind of our starting point. The ball's over here. So we're going to go twist. We're going to switch to yellow. Boom. We're going to switch to red. 1, 2, 3. And then as the room is twisting the second time, I'm going to click on red. There's a second where you can't click on it. And then I'm going to push this out 3 times. And then as the ball's going through, I'm actually going to press yellow. And it's very important that you press yellow, because that allows you to press this early. You saw how that just kind of turned on, but the yellow was on initially. Whatever color you selected at the end of the last room, you can push early. So let's say I had pushed blue instead. I could actually push this first, but the only one that's helpful is yellow. Let me show you what it looks like if I don't do that. Plus y'all get to see this chamber one more time. Oops. So we're going to jump over, click yellow in midair, click the bottom, hit red, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You can also press that 3 times. Jump over, hit yellow again, this time click the middle, blue, push that down, red, 1, 2, 3. And jump over this, purple, twist, yellow, red, 1, 2, 3, and once again we're going to switch to red as the ball is going down the stairs. We're going to catch it, and now this time you'll notice the yellow is not set, so I have to wait for it to light up. So the reason you want to hit yellow as you're like jumping over the wall, which by the way is best to do from this section, not up here. This one's a little bit slower. You want to be here to jump over the wall the fastest. We hit yellow, we jump over the wall from here, and then this will be lit up, and we can immediately set it up while we're still waiting for these to come out. Now here, as soon as the blue block lights up, which usually can be up on top of here before the blue block lights up, what you want to do is you want to push this in and jump on it as you're pushing it in, and you'll be launched over here, and you want to click red midair. So something like this. Now for here, you just get to bunny hopping, and you want to stay on this like right hand lane because it is the best line. If you go too far left, you're just like incurring increasing the amount of distance that you have to walk, which is obviously slower. Once you get past this corner, you want to kind of aim here, where I am. Oh, that was weird. Okay. And you want to just keep jumping, and that allows you to press this magnet as soon as possible, which is good because basically the only thing that slows you here is how quickly you can hit the magnet. As this wall's lowering, you want to jump over it. You want to click this, push this, and then click this again. And I kind of like messed up that timing because I paused and I wasn't running forward. But if you do that, the green block should be enough on this to where it doesn't fall off like that. Let me see if I can show you what it should look like. Kind of go back down the hallway. So we go, and there we go. 1, 2, 3, click, push once, and then right about here you want to click and jump off at the same time. If you do it right, the block will be exactly here, which is great because we can push that and immediately put it in the laser. If you jump off too early, the block will kind of like hang off of this and fall off, which isn't great. And if you jump too late, it'll be like here. And if it's here, you actually have to push this in so that it gets lined up with where you want it before pushing it. But the ideal is basically what I showed you. That's the fastest way to do it. So practice that. In this room, there is a slightly riskier way to do it and a slightly safer way to do it. I'll show you the safe way first. So we push that, push 1, 2, 3. We jump up here, we push 1, 2, we turn off the magnet, and we push twice. Oops, I accidentally hit exit and not main menu. Yeah, give me just a second. My apologies, my apologies. Make sure that OBS knows that Q.U.B.E is up. Good, we are good to go. Continue game. Now the slightly riskier way is to be a little bit more aggressive about turning off the magnet early. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to push this, turn off the magnet, and push this midair. If you do it right, it'll land on here and it'll be solidly on it. If you do it a little bit too early, the block can fall off. And there's no rip doing it too late, really. And then we just push this in twice, and it lines up. That's slightly faster, because the block doesn't need to go as far. And here, I'll show you the classic strat, and then I'll show you the slightly optimized strat found by Q.U.B.E. So you press this for the classic strat, and then you press this block, and these blocks will now be lined up perfectly, where if we turn off magnet or whatever, you notice each of them are 5 blocks away from the red block. So if we push this, they are perfectly lined up and they will both be on the blocks at the same time, which is great because we want them to intersect with these lasers. So after we have done that, we'll do the next part, but let me actually show you the fast strat as well. The faster strat, recently discovered by Q.U.B.E, requires a little bit of timing. So we're going to push this up, we're going to twist this back, once, here. So we go 1, 2, push that, and then we turn off the magnet, and this will be in place. It usually isn't like falling over like that, and usually this block will be in place as well. Show that one more time, this time cleanly. We want to press this as soon as possible. Push, push, 1, 2, turn off the magnet. This is just barely on, but it's good enough. We push this up twice, and we want to look at the doorway. As soon as the door starts to open, we press this magnet just like that. We turn around, we push that, we push the magnet back. And we push this block up, and it'll be on top of this block. Once they're on top of each other, we push the magnet back, and as we go across, oops, I missed this block. Just pretend that didn't happen. As we go across, we push this block underneath us, and it'll push the block down here, which gives us enough height to land up here, which is awesome. There is a faster way to do this, which is very risky. I have a video of it on the Q.U.B.E Discord, but let me kind of show you how that works. So we press this, of course, and I'm going to use the gear key setup because it's slightly faster. 1, 2. And there I actually counted too fast. You can kind of adjust it by doing that, by like kind of pushing it to the left and then bringing it back and pushing this down after it pauses the cube just a little bit. That managed to give this one just enough time to catch up. So that's one way you can kind of adjust. And we're going to go ahead and trigger the door. But this time we're going to kind of try to glitch out this block by making it go left and then go right, and then we're going to push the red block below us as like just the corner is passing it. And if we do it right, it'll actually end up tilting the box at like a 45-degree angle, which is great because once it's at a 45-degree angle and is going this way, we can switch the magnet back, it'll start coming this way, and we can push it up. And if we get just enough height, we'll actually be able to make it up here without having to worry about getting all the way over to this block and pushing it up. It's kind of hard to explain, so let me see if I can just show you. So I'm going to go boom, boom. See how it's at an angle now? And then I'm going to push it up as we go. And this time I definitely did not get enough height. So if I try to jump, you'll notice I can't make it. But if you do it just right, which is very difficult, if you do it just right, you'll be able to barely make it up here. If you want to see that one in action, I'm almost certainly not going to be able to replicate it. It took me a bunch of tries to get it the one time that I did get it. But it is a possible optimization for the future. I counted to 2 in my head. Wait for the door to just to be about open. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Wait till we're over top of it. This is the strategy that I recommend going for. This is the fastest consistent strategy, and we are good. Now as we come into this next room, there's 2 ways you can do this. I'm going to show you the way I recommend, and then I'll show you an alternate strategy. So press this magnet up, and then you want to wait until the cube is at a certain height, roughly around where this line is, and you want to twist the room. I'm just going to turn off the magnet, the blocks will fall where they were before. But when you twist the room, it'll change like the pull of the magnets, and if you do it right, the cube will land on this block, and it'll be high enough to where the edge doesn't overlap the middle block at all, and also low enough to where it isn't too far off the top. Let me see if I can show you the good way to do it real quick. Okay, so if I push this out now, you'll notice it's all good, it's in the laser, everything's happy. However, if you twist too early, you notice the block kind of goes at an angle, and that isn't great. If you go too late, then you miss this entirely, or if you don't miss it, it gets hit by this and it kind of bounces at an angle going that way, and that's not great either. Something like this is perfect. If it were a little lower, the center would bounce it up to the right, and if it was too high, oh wait, no. If it were a little bit lower, it would be bounced down at this angle, and if it were too high, it would be bounced up at this angle. It can be very finicky. But once this cube is in place, or as it's going into place, you can push this down 3 times, and that lines that up with the laser. The alternate strategy for this room, that I don't personally like, but I've seen other people do, is to press this and twist immediately, and then press up, and this cube will kind of get dragged, and then twist the room at a specific timing, and this will be in place. Now if you notice there, it was just barely off center, so it's actually going to fall. Or, oh, it didn't fall, but, oh wait, it is falling, yeah. So if it's at all off, this messes up here, so it's very important to get that perfectly. And using the alternate strategy, I don't think that I'm very good at doing that correctly. Okay, so that should be fine. So that's what the alternate strategy looks like. I recommend learning the first one. I think it's quicker anyway. and I feel like it's more consistent. But both of them can be really finicky. It's not uncommon for a run to die there. I actually had a run die earlier today. Or I guess it's past midnight right now, so it was yesterday. Then we have a little bit of breathing time as we watch this lovely cutscene. Whenever this cutscene's over, there will be some boxes that fall down in front of us, and they fall kind of randomly. Usually they're not a problem, you can just jump over them. Sometimes they're not even in your way and you can just walk straight through with no problem. However, sometimes they will get in your way, and sometimes they can actually kind of trap you and softlock you. So they will fall from this spot up here. And this time we are... Oh! That time, those ones fell a little bit later than I expected, and they kind of bounced around. It's also possible for them to like trap you, and then you can't move, and that sucks. So just be cognizant of that RNG. 99% of the time, they won't fuck with you. Now here, the intended strat is to use this block, but if you look here, there's actually a ledge here. And this ledge is able to be stood on. And oh look, this is where we want to go. Voila! You don't have to do the puzzle at all, you just literally jump here. This jump is a little bit scary. It's kind of a small target, but oops, I just didn't jump. I didn't press the jump button in time. But as long as you like practice it a little bit, it's not hard. Easy peasy. Now, as we're in this elevator, there's kind of like some invisible walls. Like if you notice, I can't walk forward here, even though there's like air here. But as this elevator starts to collapse, you can actually jump over the invisible wall, like so. If you notice, I even stood on the invisible wall there for a second. And in doing that, you hit here, which is actually the load zone. Or you can get in here, which is actually the load zone, to get this thing going. So it's a little bit faster to do that. I also want to show you what it looks like if you... Oops. I wanted to show you what it looked like if you miss the jump, but basically you're just trapped in that room until the invisible wall goes away. So as you're coming in here, you want to push this up 1, 2, 3 times. The wire will get kind of caught behind it as it gets closer over here. And around right here, the wire will come loose, and it'll hit this 99% of the time, probably. And then there, you just bounce over here. These wires are RNG, meaning that sometimes you will get screwed over in this section, and there's really not anything you can do about it. But there are some ways to kind of like handle RNG. Now the fastest and riskiest way to do this room is to just move the wire where it needs to go as fast as possible. Let me show you what that kind of looks like. Sometimes the wire will fall off this block like that. That's actually a great example. It doesn't always do that. Press this, push that out. That lights up this, we push that out, and those will light that up, and then, oops, I actually wanted to show you what it looks like without waiting. So I'm just going to do it real quick, and then I'll explain. I'm sorry. So you notice that time it didn't fall off. So we do that. And then as soon as that unlights, we do this. And you'll notice that time it worked perfectly, and then we twist back. And I like to push this up 1, 2, 3 times, and voila! Once that wire is lit, we push that out of the way. The one that was over here lights up one of these two. There's also a wire in the ceiling here that lights up the middle one, and this lights up the bottom one. That time you got to see an example of the ideal thing, which is to not mess with RNG at all, just go for it and hope that you get lucky. Let me see if I can show you another example where I don't get so lucky. There's the wire falling off again, so that's another example of that RNG. Good luck twice in a row. If only that happened in real runs. Or I guess I'm not getting good luck on this part. Okay, so if you notice that one almost missed, it just barely tapped this corner. So it's really not wanting to show you the bad RNG. If you play this, you'll see the bad RNG. I'm gonna try this one more time. Oh my god, I've never seen this happen. This is actually the first time I've seen this happen. It always, in my experience, turns this on, but as you can see, this room is RNG. I've never seen that happen before. That's literally the first time I've ever seen that specific result. So that's fun. Ugh, it's only giving you good RNG. What the fuck? Okay. Since this refuses to do bad RNG, we're just gonna keep going. But just trust me, this wire can mess up, and turning this on initially, it can mess up and hitting that over there. It can mess up falling off like you saw multiple times there, which is actually way rarer than the other ways. But one of the ways you can kind of manage that RNG is to actually do like little slight delays. So instead of immediately clicking the buttons, you can actually let the wire kind of calm down by just giving it a second to like come to a little bit of a less erratic motion. But it's not guaranteed no matter how long you wait, unless if you wait for it to like actually come to a 100% complete standstill, then it basically eliminates the RNG. But if you're just like going at it, you'll probably find yourself having to redo that chamber really often, which is unfortunate. Now in this next section, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just do all the steps I do. So we push this first, push that in, push, push. The ball will hit this, and we want to push that down before it gets there. Oops. Trying to explain this, I'm going too slow. Okay, I'm just gonna do that again. Normally I do this very fast without trying to explain, so it's a little bit trickier to explain live. Please bear with me. Okay. Boom. 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 I like to push that out, and that out. And then we push this in, it'll bounce through, and it'll come over here, and it'll hit this. After it's hit this, we want to push that in and push this in, and that'll cause it to go in this corner and bounce out through here. It's going to hit this, and we also need that, and that all pushed out. Once it hits this, it goes at an angle, and we want to trap it in with this. That brings it over to the yellow. Once it's brought over to the yellow, we want to push yellow in. It bounces off of all these, and then it gets buoyed over here and lands there. And once it's up here, it'll kind of swing towards the wall and hit it with a wrecking ball. And if you start walking forward as soon as you hear the motor going, you will be able to get through the wall as soon as it breaks. In this particular room, the place you want to go after the wall breaks is directly to your right, so it's good to line yourself up slightly to the right. But the motor's already going, so I'm just going to hit W as soon as it starts. There's a couple more wrecking ball sections like that, so you'll be able to see that again. So here, in order to get the one cycle, I jump up, I hit this 1, 2, 3 times, I hit that, and then I just buffer clicks on this, and it goes away. So once again, I hit this block first. I kind of did a jump shot to hit it as early as possible. And then I look over here, and I push this 3 times. If you're slow on this, then the ball will actually stop you from being able to press this temporarily. And it'll kind of go here, and then go over here, and it'll hit this wall, and you'll have to do another cycle. And you'll have to keep doing that until you get this pushed all the way out. And then from there, if you don't push the yellow part out quick enough, the ball kind of like goes and does another cycle, which isn't great. And if you, I'm just gonna do this real quick. I forget what I was gonna say. I'll just show the one cycle one more time. So we jump, click, 1, 2, 3. It's a little bit easier from a save and quit. And then we just buffer this. You can also just click this at the right timing, but buffering helps. Once again, we have this. I'm going to line up on the left side because where we want to go is over there, and it helps us get the one cycle easier to go a little bit left. And as you can see, I can jump right as the thing is breaking. Now for here, I like to go boom, boom here. Oops, got caught a little bit. And then in order to get the one cycle, you want to hit this block as soon as possible. That's what it looks like to miss the one cycle. Now if I save and quit, it's actually going to like change the timing, so the one cycle is going to be way easier to hit and it's going to look way different. But I just want to show you what the one cycle is supposed to look like. So you push this, and then you push this and this. Usually you have to get here pretty quickly to hit this block in time. Then for this, you want to push that in and then push these 4 blocks. It'll go around, bounce off this block, and come over here, and the blue bouncy will launch it into this block. Once it's launched into this block, you push that down, and you can actually push the ball over top of this thing by pushing it as the ball is going over top. So the ball is going to smack into this. We push the red one down. The ball goes here, 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 here. And then when the ball is like roughly here, we want to push up on the block. If you push too early, then the ball will actually just hit this and it'll go and you'll have to do another cycle, which sucks. And if you push too late, it actually just falls into this gap and you have to do another cycle, like I said. So hitting this is a pretty forgiving timing, like it's pretty easy to hit it on the right time to where it goes over top of this gap. But if you mess it up, it's a big time waste because it takes a while to wait for the ball to go back where it needs to go. Once the ball's where it needs to go, which is down here, it's going to trigger another one of these, and where we want to go is slightly right. Oops, I didn't do the thing. Here, let's just see that whole room again, because I kind of explained that really fast. So for the one cycle, usually it'll be a little bit trickier here. You can also jump there like I did, and you want to jump and you want to click this as soon as possible, because usually the ball will be a lot closer to that. Click 1, 2, 3, 4. Push blue block in once again. And then once it's past this red block, we push it up, it gets boinged into it. And let me see if I can show you what happens if you push too early. So if you push too early, that happens. It just hits it. And then let me see if I can show you too late. Oh shit, I forgot to do that part. Damn you. Alright, let me see if I can show you too late. So if you do it too late, as you see, it just falls into that hole. So you want to do it at around this timing, because for whatever reason, that prevents it from falling in the hole. And then I go a little bit right here, and that gives me the optimal line. I like to jump off of this block, just because I feel like it. And as long as you're jumping kind of on this line, you should be able to make that jump as many times as you want. Now for this, the sooner you get to this trigger, it'll drop these boxes. I'm having a hard time explaining this part. So like, as you come through that doorway, you want to go directly towards the light, because that triggers the boxes to fall as soon as possible. And the next section will open until these boxes have fallen. And the next section is actually over here. But if you run directly to this door, it actually takes a little bit longer for the door to open, because you're not taking the optimal route to the trigger that causes the boxes to fall in the first place. And this room will never open until those boxes have fallen. As we come into this room, it's pretty easy. We're just going to hit 4 buttons. We're going to hit this button over here to direct the laser over to the right. We're going to hit this button to kind of raise the bar so that this can receive the laser. Then we're going to hit this button to turn the laser towards this target over here, and we're going to hit this button to make it go into orange. And it's going to look like this. Super easy. Now this next section is a little bit trickier. So for this next section, we have to actually do two different puzzles, kind of back to back. There's like two different blocks that we have to light up. And after you've lit up the first block, there's like a pause where you can't click on anything. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to click that, I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, that makes the laser go up here, hit blue, it bounces over here, and whenever I click this, the laser is going to go through the red and it's going to hit the purple. And you'll notice, I'm clicking, nothing's happening. There's like a period where I'm locked out of being able to click. However, if I hold down the click button and do buffer clicks, that doesn't happen. So let me show that. I'm going to do the exact same thing. We're going to click that. Oops. I'm going to click that. And now, whenever I click, I'm going to hold down click. And you'll notice I can keep clicking, which is great because that means that I can do this whole puzzle during the period that I would normally be locked out. All by just holding down the click button. For whatever reason, buffering the clicks overrides the thing that normally stops you from being able to click. So now that I've explained that basic concept, which will also come into play in the next room, this is the chamber all the way through. So we click that one, we click that one, click that one, and then we click, hold down, click 1, 2, 3, 4, and that solves the chamber circle. Just like that. Go up here. Once we get to the second and last one, we jump, and you can actually click this right here as you're falling. Let me see if I can show that. So as you're falling, you want to be trying to hit that purple arrow. I'm going to give this like a couple tries. I'm sure you all get it. I just want to like see if I can show you. Yeah, like that. And then there's a couple different ways you can do this room. There's like a couple different ways you can sequence it, but I'm just going to show you the way that I sequence it. So I click this, this, and this because they're all in a line and it's easy to hit all three of them with quick buffered clicks, though this one is not strictly necessary because this part of the puzzle doesn't even happen until the second part. But I like to hit all three of them and just get this one out of the way early. Then we're going to click this, this, and this. And when we do that, the laser is going to bounce into the orange and go through, or it's going to go through the red, it's going to turn the laser orange, and it's going to light up the orange cube. That's going to trigger one of those lockouts. So let me show that. So when I click this, you notice if you look at my inputs, clicking, nothing's happening, and then finally it lets me click. Just like before, we can hold down the click button to avoid that. Barely missed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hold down click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that's what that route looks like all the way through quickly. Let me show that slower so you have an idea what's going on for any new people. So you already get the first part. I'm just going to do the first part quickly. Oh my god, maybe not. Okay, so the first part's done, and you notice that raises up the green block over here. So now we need to get the laser to turn green and enter this block. Luckily, we set this up ahead of time because this will bounce the laser over here, which will bounce it here, and it'll bounce it into the green. So this will help us in the end. What's going to happen is we're going to shift this over, and now it's no longer going through the yellow. We twist this, and it goes through blue. Now it's going through blue and is going over here, which we do not want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click it once over here. You can actually click it twice if you want, but I like to click it once. And that lines it up here. And then these two will make it yellow and refract the thing over this way. And then when I click this a third time, the laser goes here, here, it bounces off of this, it comes in here, it bounces over here, and then it bounces off this one that we set early, and it hits the green. The key to doing this chamber fast is to try to get as close to the door as you're finishing. So the strategy that I showed earlier, you noticed that I clicked this once and then I clicked it the second time as I was like backing up. An alternate strategy you can do is to skip it in the beginning and click it twice as you're backing up. So I'll show what that looks like. So boom, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then as we're backing up, click this twice. And that lines everything up, and the door opens right as I'm going through it. Now those buttons are a little bit tricky to hit, so working on your aim is the best way to do those two chambers quickly. Luckily, we are done with lasers, and we are on to one cycle, to continuing to try to get one cycles. This one cycle is super easy. We're going to start the puzzle by triggering the laser. Once we do that, it bounces in here, and it triggers that. And we're going to push this block, which I failed to do. We're going to push this block because it makes it to where this block that's trekking back and forth has to go one block less distance, which makes the whole cycle a little bit quicker, which is good because normally you have to wait around for a while. Let me show you what this looks like. This one's really self-explanatory. Basically just do the things I do. So I push this block out to shorten the overall cycle. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I'm sorry. That wasn't supposed to be 3. That was supposed to be 2. Trying to count fucked me up. Okay. So we press that out. And then we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. And as you see, there's plenty of time. So you don't need to do it fast like that at all. And then once it's about to hit the edge, you push this off, and then as soon as it's clear, you push this 3 times. And then as soon as you click this, it's going to open up this little wall behind me. You can see it's slightly off color. That's because it's a door. So you push this, and you turn around, and you go through as soon as possible. Through here, I like to do little bunny hops. Right here, you can actually jump, and this little chunk of wall will catch you. And you can actually clear this gap with one jump. So I like to try to do that as soon as possible, just because I think it's the cleanest movement and saves the most time going through. Now this next section is very tricky, but there is a simple way to make it work in order to get this one cycle. So I'm going to explain what we do before I even activate the laser. So in order to activate the laser, we hit this, it's going to come over here, it's going to trigger this, which is going to turn all of these like staticky looking things on, and the whole cycle is going to start. What's going to happen is this pillar is going to come this way, and normally what you have to do is something like this. Let me show you what normally you do. Oops. Okay. So the intended strats here are something along the lines of this. You wait until this wall is kind of blocking, so that when you push this out, the cube doesn't just fall into this abyss area. And then it wants you to push this up 3 times, and then wait for this to come back. And then once it's come back, you push this onto it, it goes back down. And then you push this twice, and you wait for this. Push it onto this. And then once it's here, you push this 3 times, you push this 3 times, and the block is in the way of the laser. Now, in order to do the one cycle, it's a little bit more tricky than that. So for the one cycle, I'll show it first, and then I'll explain how it's done. For the one cycle, we're going to do that all at once. So if you notice, if you're fast enough, you're able to get the cube on the block. And then you push this twice. And if you notice there, it actually kind of like jiggled off. And this is a common thing that can happen when you're trying to one cycle, which will screw over your run. I actually lost a run yesterday to that. But that's what the one cycle should look like, minus the glitching off the edge. Now to explain how the one cycle works, as the pillar here is reaching this edge, so now, right as that like edge of this pillar is hitting this edge that you see visually, right as that happens, I click this, and that gives me the perfect timing to have just enough time to do it. So you notice I can wait until it's passing, and as long as you're holding it on the click button, you have plenty of time to get it on top of the block. And then you want to push this ideally quicker than that. Wow. This trick can be finicky and annoying. Okay, let's show that one more time. So I wait till it hits that line, and then I start the whole cycle. And this time, let's not get screwed up. Okay, this is maybe okay. Yeah, we're good. Alright, so once that's on there, we can go ahead and do something like this. 1, 2, and then normally I would do 3, and that would complete the puzzle. Now, if you noticed, I pushed this one out early, and that's because the block was solidly on like the right-hand side of this moving block. Sometimes it'll be kind of hanging off the left side here, and if you have it set up like that and you push this here, let me actually show you instead of just explaining it. If you have that set up, then you don't want to do it the way that I just did, because this block will push the block off. Let me show that real quick. And then I'll do the one cycle one more time after that. Okay, so this time it's kind of hanging off the side, and as you can see, the problem is pretty obvious. It just completely messes you up. And then, will it actually let me do it? Oh, that's funny. Maybe I can actually fix this. Nope. So yeah, you don't want this situation. Maybe there's a way to fix this, but it doesn't look fun. Yeah, so we're just gonna reset this and do it the way it's supposed to go. Okay, so one more time, the one cycle, we wait until the edge is in line. Boom, 1, 2. Oh, if you go too early, that happens. That time I was just a little bit too early, and the block actually got caught between the pillar and the red pillar, which is a thing that can happen, as you can see. So there's a lot of different ways that this one cycle can get messed up, but it's not so bad once you get the hang of it. And it doesn't let you click this early, so there is a certain timing involved. I like to press that a little earlier than you think you need to, because it lets me push this early. And then we can do this. And if you notice, the cube's kind of hanging off the right side, but it still works fine. It's pretty hard to get it set up to where it doesn't trigger the laser. It's too far right to trigger the laser. Usually as long as it's on that block, it'll trigger the laser. Now this next section is the boxes. For the boxes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger this magnet as I'm entering the room, and these boxes are all going to start moving this way. The small boxes move faster than the big boxes because they're like not as massive or whatever. As soon as I hear the sound of the big box hitting this laser, there's like a sound cue, I switch the direction of the boxes and they start coming back this way. And as they're coming back this way, I'm waiting for this box to be in line with this box, slightly to the right hand side. If it's too far left, it causes problems. So let me show you, and then I can explain further. So as I'm entering the room, I like to jump and click that. I wait for the sound cue of this thing hitting, I switch the directions, and then I push this laser as this block is roughly in line with this, and I like for the block to be slightly to the right or perfectly in the center. If it's at all to the left, then this red block will actually push this off the side and it can mess you up. I'll show that in a second. But when you do this correctly, the block will go like that. And this block stays on the red block, or the big block goes to the side, and right as this corner is passing this corner, we can change the direction to make them go right. So something like this. And they line up like that, you push them into the wall, and voila, you have your solution. And they all line up with the lasers. Let's reset the chamber. Okay. So this is what happens if you don't do it early, if you don't switch the direction enough, and you line the block up on the left side. So here, as you notice, the small block is a little bit too far left, so it's actually going to get pushed off. And it is possible to save this by turning off the magnet before it gets here and just scooching it over a little bit to the right. So I'm going to do the correct way to do it one more time for demonstration. Wait till it's sound cue, you change directions, you wait till it's slightly to the right. If it's too far right, that can also cause problems. And then as soon as it clears that corner, now I switch the directions. That allows the small box to get on. Push until they hit the wall, and then change directions, and turn the magnet off right as the small boxes are hitting the lasers. And that completes that puzzle. Now this next room is much different if you're not playing on version 1.0. If you're not playing on version 1.0, you have to use the intended strats, or maybe there's some other strat that's like slightly faster than the intended, but in version 1.0, there is a way to completely cheese this next chamber. And it's because you want to get these blocks to line up with like the center of these lasers over these red blocks. So normally for the intended solution, you have to do a bunch of fiddling with the magnets, getting these like spaced apart in just the right way to where they're like on these four corners, and then you raise the all four and they trigger all four light beams at the same time, and you have a party because that's awesome. However, in version 1.0, there was a glitch where if the block just barely touches this and then stops touching it, the game will think that it's still touching it. So let me show that. Oop. Oh, it's fine. So if I press this up and then immediately click right, oops, here. If I make it go through here, it'll touch where it needs to be and then immediately leave. And you notice if it does that, the laser's like, oh, the box is still here. And so with that, we can actually use one box to trigger all of these. So the next one, it goes through, and the laser's like, oh, there's a box here. As you can see, there's not a box here. Again, same thing. And then one last time, boom. So because of that glitch, it's possible to do this chamber way quicker. Let me show an example of doing this chamber pretty much optimally. You want to just barely touch the cube's edge like this, because that is the fastest. So the timing of when you change the magnets is the most important. So if you do it right, you push this up, and if you're buffering your clicks and immediately change the magnet direction, it'll trigger this first laser. If you wait too long, then you actually have to do one more change to make sure that this laser gets triggered, because if the block is in the laser for too long, then it doesn't trick the game into thinking there's still a block there. Basically, the idea being that the game thinks that if the block enters and immediately leaves, it doesn't realize that the block left. But if it's there for like a long enough period and then it leaves, then the game's like, oh, the block left. But that's a nice little glitch that allows us to do that very quickly. Also, whatever you do not save and quit at this point. If you do, you will be soft locked. Trust me. There's a video about it on the Discord, and if you want to see it for yourself, just get to this point in the run, finish that room, and then save and quit before hitting this checkpoint, and you will be spawned outside of the map and fall into an endless void. Now we're going into the very last sector, which is called Sector 7. And in here, there's only a couple chambers, but some of the flashiest tricks happen in this next section, including the probably most stunning trick of the run, which is the whole out of bounds thing, which is really cool. And there's actually two ways to get out of bounds. They're basically the same thing, but they're just slightly different. One of them I call the classic out of bounds, or Q.U.B.E for short, and the other one is called faster out of bounds, and it was discovered by Q.U.B.E, and that one we call F.U.B. So F.U.B and Q.U.B.E. I'll show both of them whenever we get to the out of bounds section. But we have like one or two more chambers to go first. So for here, pretty simple, just do your bunny hops as you're going through. Fall in here, and I'm gonna hold W the whole time as that transition's happening, and you notice I'm holding W right now. Nothing's happening, I'm not moving. That's because for whatever reason, whenever you reach this part, it like loads in the next section, and it kind of like respawns you in this part right here. And I don't know why, but that makes it to where like your W key or whatever key you're holding down just stops working. So what you want to do is you want to actually let go of W for like a second or two as that like transition's happening, and then hold W again, and it'll let you start moving forward. For here, it's really simple. Just grab blue and do that. So for Sector 7, you can actually pick what color you do these blocks. So in order to do that, you click it, you'll notice my gloves turn red, and whenever I click one of these spots, it'll change into whatever color. You can tell where you can click because they have like this cool little glowing texture. But for the first one, you just turn it blue, you push it down, you bounce up here. For the next one, we're going to turn it yellow. And we're just going to try to get yellow as soon as possible so that we can get these stairs extended before we get here. It's kind of tricky to hit the yellow, and if you're standing too far back, it actually doesn't let you click yellow immediately. There's like a delay, you have to walk far enough forward. Maybe like roughly here it'll let you click yellow. And once you've clicked yellow and your glove is glowing yellow, you click this, you push, and you're good. If you're having trouble with it, you might do something like this and kind of get like slowed down. But like those first two rooms are like not really a big thing. They're super easy. You should have no trouble with them. In this section, there's going to be two slightly different ways you can do this, but the basic principle is the same. So as you're coming in here, you want to hit the play button as soon as possible. I'm going to show you the way I do it first. And I'm going to stop it before it actually hits the thing. So I just wanted to show that first. Now I'm actually going to explain what's happening there. And then I'll show you the alternate strat, which is more or less the same, probably a little bit easier. So hit play, I hit red, I push this once, twice, and as long as I hit the ball with the corner of the red block, it'll go around this section. But if you notice there, I hit it with the front face of the red block, and it didn't get enough push to go around the pit. So for this, I'm going to do it one more time. This time I'm actually going to hit the corner of the ball. And when you do that, it will go right over the blue plate. So as the ball is rolling, you click blue, you come over here, you turn it blue and you push it down, and the ball will roll over it, bounce over like you saw initially. Now, the alternate strat is basically the same thing, except you use yellow. So I'm gonna, here, let me actually do that real quick. So as you come in here, you hit the play button, you grab yellow, and then you just want to hit it with any part of the yellow except for this bottom corner like you just saw. As long as you hit it with any other part of yellow, it should be fine. grab blue, and you do that, and you want to do it fast enough or else it hits that and bounces over to the right. Oops. And let me show you a successful attempt. Now that I've shown you a couple ways that you can do it wrong. Oh, that was weird. This is not the way that I do it personally, so I'm a little, I'm not like a pro at doing it with yellow. I always do it with red. Alright, there we go. And as you can see, you can also do it with yellow. I think most people do it with yellow, but I like to do it with red. Whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Now in this next section, the load zone to get this elevator going up is like roughly in the middle, like maybe like right here where I'm kind of circling with my mouse. So you want to run forward, and then you can actually jump up into this corner and get kind of like stuck in the air and you can actually go out of bounds like this, which is funny. That is not useful. Going out of bounds is not useful. What is useful, however, is that if you go just a little bit out of bounds, you actually don't fall off. Oops. Okay, so I'm a little bit out of bounds, and that actually makes me able to get up here slightly earlier than I normally would. If you don't want to fuck with that, don't worry about it. Just ride the elevator up, and once it gets to the top, jump. But if you jump into this back corner as it's going up, you can get a little bit out of bounds, and you can get kind of like raised above the elevator, which allows you to get out just a little bit quicker. Let me show that one more time with the quick strat. I don't think that the just riding the elevator normal requires any explanation. I'm just going to assume that you all know how to do that. And then I just jump at the top of it, and that allows you to get up here just a tad quicker. Now in this room, as you're coming up, you want to grab purple and put it on this. You go into this back corner, and then you let go of all directions. You click arrow, and it kind of puts you in the wall a little bit, which allows you to stand up here. If you press any directions, you fall out. Let me show you what that looks like without me pressing directions. If I hold back, for instance, I just pop out of the wall. It also doesn't matter for this room what version of the corner you're in. So I can do it in this corner as well. Or I can do it in this corner, I think. Whenever this is on the ceiling, there's like a little trench here, which is kind of weird. It's possible to soft lock yourself with that. Oh wait, maybe it's actually not possible to do on all of them. Okay, so whenever it's up on the ceiling, it doesn't work, but in any other position it works, as long as you're just standing in the corner and not pushing any like movement directions. Whenever you twist this, it'll bring you up to the top, and then you can just walk forward to get out. That triggers a checkpoint. Now, I just want to show you all something that's not actually important. It's not useful for the speedrun, but it is kind of cool. If you go up here and then you hold left and click this, you can actually get out of bounds. Look at that. Isn't that neat? Not useful, but very neat. Unfortunately, there is this wall which kind of blocks you from being able to do anything, but it's pretty easy to get back into bounds. Oops. Now, the reason I show you that is because the next room, that's basically what we're going to be doing. We're going to be getting out of bounds. So first off, we're going to grab this, and we're going to turn this into purple. And I'm going to show you the classic out of bounds strats, and then I'm going to explain them. I don't think I'm on the floor. So here, I'm trying to force my geometry slightly into the floor. If I force myself too far into the floor, then I actually fall out of the bottom of the floor and have to go to menu and continue. Usually you can tell if you're in the floor based off of the visual cue of the wall over here. If you notice, if I just stand here, this second block takes up most of my vision. that's going to be relevant, and I'll show you why. Okay, now I am partially on the floor, so you notice if I look forward, I see the bottom block and some of the floor. I don't see this intersection. I even look like I'm kind of crouching or I'm like laying down. Whenever you're on the floor like this, you're basically in the same situation you were in that last room that allowed you to ride up the wall. So if I press this, I'll ride up the wall, and I'm actually in the geometry. And you notice if I click, you don't see the little light that happens when I click on things, but you see these little like sparklies. That's because I'm actually inside of a block right now, and I'm clicking on the invisible surface on the inside of the block. If I inch forward just a little bit, you can actually see where this block is, and now I'm no longer in the block, I'm kind of hanging out of the block. And since I'm hanging out of the block, I can click and you can see these lights. Now the way that we get out of bounds is very similar to what we did in the last section. We're going to hold back, and we're going to twist the room. In doing so, we are out of bounds. And from here, we can go forward and actually trigger the next section. However, I want to show you a couple things before we do that. So the way that I just got out of bounds right there is called classic strats, classic out of bounds. And that involves twisting the room to get out of bounds. Now, for me, in order to get into the floor to begin with, the way that I do it is I turn this purple and I click this, and as it's rotating, I'll hold left initially, and then once it's reached like a certain point, I'll kind of hold left and I'll like look over here, and then I'll start holding forward and like pushing into the floor. And as long as the room's like twisted to where the floor is kind of in wall mode, doing that allows me to get into the floor, holding forward. Holding left isn't necessary. You can actually do it just holding forward. Let me see if I can show that. Yeah, like that. So as you can see, I'm in the floor again. If I look forward, I see mostly this block. I don't see mostly this block. So I can go for classic out of bounds. There is an alternate way to go into the floor, which is faster, but in my experience, a little bit harder. And that is, instead of starting out in this corner, you can actually, as you're coming into the room, turn that purple, and then twist this at just the right time and kind of get into the floor like this. Now, if you notice here, I'm more on the floor than I showed you before. Like, I see this line as my middle thing, but I'm just barely in the floor. And if you're just barely in the floor, sometimes it'll kick you out. In this instance, it didn't kick me out, and I have what's called ideal setup. Ideal setup is where I'm not actually in the block, and I can click immediately without having to inch forward, which is the fastest way to do classic strats. So if you're just barely in the floor, it's usually a good idea to just go for the classic strats, because you don't have to worry about inching forward. All you have to do is worry about clicking this tiny little sliver of purple button. So that's what it looks like if you try to do it the fast way. I'm actually surprised I got that first try. Let me see if I can do it again. I don't think I'm in the floor. I do see a little bit more of this bottom area when I look straight forward, but I still see mostly this. So let's see, that's gonna pop me out. Okay. So you have to be a certain amount into the floor in order for the wall to carry you up. Otherwise it'll just push you out as soon as it starts twisting. So those are the two ways to get into the floor initially. Now, I said that there was two versions of the out of bounds, the classic out of bounds and the faster out of bounds. The faster out of bounds isn't technically faster. It's the same speed, assuming perfect execution between classic out of bounds and Q.U.B.E. But Q.U.B.E, in my experience, is a little bit faster because you don't have to worry about aiming and clicking the button over here, which most of the time will save you time. Now for faster out of bounds, we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to get into the floor, but as we're going up, as the room is twisting, whenever it's about like 3/4 of the way up, we're going to tap right like twice. I don't even know if I'm far enough in the floor. Okay, I actually was not far enough into the floor for Q.U.B.E. So Q.U.B.E is actually best whenever you're more in the floor than what I would consider ideal setup, but it can be done anytime. So I'm gonna twist this, and I'm gonna tap right a bunch of times, but it actually doesn't matter because I wasn't far enough in the floor. Bear with me. That time I wasn't far enough in the floor. Okay, so now I'm pretty far in the floor. Oops. So this is a good thing to show about Q.U.B.E. If you tap right too many times and you go too far, you actually fly out of the side of the map, which is definitely not what you want. So Q.U.B.E. is a little bit riskier than classic out of bounds Q.U.B.E. Faster out of bounds, there is the chance of accidentally messing up like that. Normally I don't have so much trouble with Q.U.B.E, so we'll probably be fine soon. Just bear with me. Oops. There's another example of it. Part of the problem is I'm tapping right too early. You want to do it when you're like further up, because if you do it further up, you have more floor below you. Because essentially what's happening is this wall is 1 block thick, and once we get Q.U.B.E set up, I'll kind of explain why that's relevant. But if you go too far, you get pushed out of that 1 block thick wall. Okay, we're pretty far on the floor. So wait until we're mostly up. And good. This is Q.U.B.E setup. So right now, this block right here is actually not real. If I walk forward, I just fall to my death. This is an intangible block. It doesn't actually have collision. But right now, as you can see, I'm pretty far into the wall. I'm farther than I was before. And in fact, if I try to hold forward, I probably won't be able to walk forward. Oops. Okay, that's fun. Yeah, so it didn't let me walk forward. It actually kind of popped me up. So if you're kind of on the edge of this block, you can actually just kind of jump and you can get out of here without twisting the room. And that's a little bit faster on average because you don't have to worry about looking at the button to twist the room. So ideal setup for faster out of bounds is quicker usually than classic out of bounds. But if you get ideal setup for classic out of bounds, as long as you have decent aim, it's not much slower. So learn whichever one you feel more comfortable doing at first. I recommend learning both, but you can get by just fine with only classic out of bounds. I don't recommend only learning Q.U.B.E though, because if you're just barely in the wall, it's a lot harder to set up Q.U.B.E. Q.U.B.E is easiest to set up whenever you're pretty far on the floor, where whenever you look forward, you don't see much of the second block height, you only see like the first block height. So now that we're out of bounds, what are we going to do with that information? There's a wall here. What can we do? Can we go around? No, there's a thing that pushes us back. This wall isn't real. You can just walk through it. Wow. This wall is also not real. You can just walk through it. Except for this one, there is a bit of wall here that's in the way. This is actually part of the puzzle there. But if you go far enough right, you actually avoid that. It's this thing right here that we were running into. So as long as you avoid running into this collision, which is pretty easy if you just kind of go along this line right here, you just walk through all those walls, and we walk over here, and this entire section is where all of those puzzles are. And then once you complete all those puzzles during normal gameplay without going out of bounds, it opens up the door to this hallway here, and it'll load in the next section. However, as you can see, the next section is not loaded, so that might be a problem. So what do we do here? How do we get back on the map? Well, this hallway, we can actually jump into it. And there's 2 main ways that we can jump into it. We can do the safe strat, or we can do the yellow jump. So the safe strat is something like this. You kind of come up to the edge, you jump, you tap D, and then you hold A. You like tap right, and then you hold left. Or if you're looking this way, the same thing, but reversed. So jump, tap D, hold left. And you land in this little hallway. And once you've landed in this little hallway, if you go back towards where we did the out of bounds trick of this hallway, you'll notice there was a little checkpoint marker down here. It was a little rotating blue circle. And once we see that, we can go main menu and continue game. And when we do that, it loads in the next section. Now, I just realized that I messed up because I was supposed to show you YOLO jump as well. And now that I've triggered the checkpoint, I would have to play through the whole game to show you YOLO jump. But basically the idea of YOLO jump is it's the same thing as a safe strat, except instead of doing it at like the side, you run directly towards the end of the hallway like it's a diving plank. You don't like turn sideways or anything, and you just jump off, and as soon as you jump off, you start holding back, and you can aerial drift back into the hallway. And in order to do YOLO jump, it's just all timing. You want to hold forward, and then as soon as you're clear, you just start holding back, and you can drift into the hallway just like how you saw me do by holding D and then switching to A. It's the same idea, except you're going from W to S. So instead of going from right to left, you're going from forward to backwards. Same idea, a lot quicker to set up. It is more risky because if you jump too late, you don't have enough time to air drift back into the hallway. If you jump too early, then you just end up not getting into the hallway and you have to go for it again until you get it. And even if you jump at the right time, if you hold forward for too long without starting to hold backwards, then you don't get enough backwards aerial drift to make it into the hallway. So there's a couple little things that have to go right to get the YOLO jump. If you want to see an example of YOLO jump, go ahead and look at the run by Gearkey42, which is currently second place on the leaderboard. And it shows an example of that. There's also, most of my PBs show an example of that, but my most recent PB I actually chickened out and went for the safe strat. I recommend learning YOLO jump just because it's a little bit faster to set up. You aren't worrying about like inching up to the edge and going too far. You're just going for it. Alright, hopefully that verbal description was enough. I'm gonna do this. So whenever you reload, it'll be on this cycle. You just jump forward, and as long as you're fast enough, you can make it up before that wall rises. Unfortunately, you can't make it to the next part, so you have to wait for it to raise you up, and you can get into the elevator like this. Now we have 2 chambers left. This room is really fun, and not so bad, not so hard. So first thing we want to do is we want to grab purple. This is our goal. We want to get into this window, and we can actually do it with only 2 colors, purple and green. So we can skip most of the colors that they wanted us to use for the intended strats. So earlier, during the dark elevator skip, I told you guys that if you twist a room and jump as it's twisting, it'll actually give you extra height. So if I try to jump up here onto this ledge area, nothing. It doesn't help me at all. Normally the game wants you to get a green block down here so you can jump on the green block and then jump up and over. But since we know that we can jump while a room is twisting, if you click this and jump, oh look, we have enough height. Now, in order to get into this window, we're going to abuse something very interesting about the green blocks in this area. So if I stand where the green block would spawn, and I place it, I get launched into the air. I get launched up to the top of the room. This is because the game's like, oh shit, the player's collision is inside of this block. We need to stop that. So it basically just gives you a ton of acceleration straight upward. Or maybe it teleports you, I'm not sure. And you just smack into the ceiling and start falling. We can abuse this to actually do this chamber quicker. So normally we come up, this is where the elevator is, we grab purple, we turn this purple, we click and we jump. Then as that's happening, we grab green, and if you kind of walk at this at an angle, as you're placing green, you get teleported up in the air and shifted a little bit to the left, and you end up getting just enough distance to land in the window, like so. That time I actually messed it up. Like that. And if you do it right, you land right in the window, like so. If you find that too difficult, you can also try to give yourself a little platform here, which is necessary and director's cut. you actually can't make the jump in Director's Cut without giving yourself this platform. And if you give yourself the platform, you just push it in and hold forward, and you're able to land in the window. So, super cool. The green block launches you up in the air. It looks real flashy, it's not too hard to do. It's a cool little trick. In Director's Cut, it'll still launch you in the air, but it launches you at a slightly different angle. And because of that, it's impossible to get into the window without creating the yellow platform above. Now, in Director's Cut, you would normally get a checkpoint here, and all you would have to do is go to the main menu, save, or basically quit out to the main menu, continue the game, and whenever you continue the game, it'll actually trigger a second checkpoint, and then when you quit to the main menu and continue the game, that second checkpoint will actually put you immediately down here, which is the goal. Unfortunately, that trick does not work in Q.U.B.E version 1.0, so we actually have to do this chamber. There's a couple different ways you can do this chamber, but the fastest way looks something like this. We grab purple first, we turn this purple, we twist, we grab green while it's twisting, we push that, we grab red, we grab red, we put that there, we twist and we push out red while it's twisting. We also grab blue as soon as possible, push blue back down, grab yellow, push this, do that, and it busts the glass. As we're falling through the glass, we grab green, and we stand here where the green block will spawn, and when we place it, it pushes us into the air, just like in the last room. And if we hold forward while we do that, we land in the window. Now, that was probably really fast, so I'm going to do that one more time, slower. There are other ways that you can do this that are a little less efficient, but this is the most efficient way to do this quickly, and it isn't hard. So once again, we grab purple first, we place, we push, we grab green while it's pushing, and we do the green block as it's like coming to rest, basically. The green block will be here, this will be here. Then we want to grab red and turn this red, and then we click this, and while the room's rotating, we push out red, so it'll look like that. And that lines up this purple, or this green block exactly where we want to be. After we pushed out the red, we don't even need to look at this anymore. As soon as red is pushed out, we want to go over here and grab blue, and turn this blue as soon as possible. Then we click this down, and then we grab yellow, and then we just buffer 3 clicks. I'm going to show that one more time at full speed. If you watch the current world record by Ethelon, he uses a slightly less efficient version of the same strategy that is sequenced a little differently. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Grab green by clicking that twice, and that time I messed it up. If you mess it up, it's fine, you can just jump on the green block. But I like to do the little launch because I think it looks cute and it saves the time of one jump. And then once you're in this hallway, like I said before, bunny hopping is faster than just walking. And the hallway is actually at a height where you immediately get pushed back down. So what you want to do is you just want to hold W and spam spacebar as you go through. Like this. Or I guess you could try to time it if you're like a god gamer. And then you want to fall through this hole. And then once you're in this elevator, it takes between a minute 12 seconds to a minute 17 seconds to get to the end of the game. So as soon as you see the elevator start moving, you can usually get a good estimate of how much longer it's going to take you. On average, I would say it takes 15 seconds, but it is possible for it to be a little bit faster or slower because the very last hallway as you're running to the end of the game has these twisting walls that, depending on how you approach them, will change how fast you get through. I'm not going to do a whole thing about like the fastest way to get through. It's mostly something that you kind of have to feel out on your own. But there is one general principle, and that's that if you want to like kind of be jumping off of them and like trying to jump your way kind of left and right. So I'll try to show that, but this may not be perfect. So jump, jump, jump. Ideally you want to manage to make it through a little bit faster than that, but that's more or less what you want to be doing. And then timing stops as soon as you lose control entering this room. So yeah, that is the tutorial. There is one more thing that I want to show you all back in Sector 1, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of Q.U.B.E real quick and then reopen it. And I only want to show this because it is a potential way that future runs will save time, but currently no one's going for this because it is ridiculously inconsistent. So I just wanted to save it for the very last thing I showed you, just so that y'all don't really worry about this, but just keep it in the back of your mind that maybe one day you'll see a speedrun that incorporates this trick. In order to show this trick, I need to get about 45 seconds into the run. And it's going to be not in the next room, but the room right after it, right after you get introduced to yellow blocks. Also, if you missed this block as you were entering, it's fine, you can just click this. I think I might have already said that. Alright, so in this room, like I said, the fastest way usually is to do this, but there's actually a way that is technically faster, but very difficult. I might not even be able to show it on stream, but you know how in this next section up here, you can kind of get like a launch off of this middle block going up? It's possible to get launched off of this one as well, but it's just significantly less consistent. In order to do it, you want to kind of like run and push these up, and you'll notice that middle goes up before the last one, and you want to be kind of falling off the middle block as the last block is rising. And if you do it absolutely perfectly, it'll launch you up and you can actually make that jump. Even if you get the launch though, you can still miss this jump. So it's like inconsistent even if you get the launch. And the launch I get maybe 1 out of every 20 tries. So let me just see if I can show that. I'll do a few trials. Probably not going to be able to show it, but there is video of this in the Discord. Probably not going to be able to get this to work. Give it a few more tries and I'll call it quits. This isn't super important. Alright, 2 more tries. 1, 2. Alright, so as you can see, that is very difficult. If you want to try it on your own time, it's basically those inputs, it's just doing it at the exact right timing, which is very difficult. I just wanted to bring this up at the end of the video, and just as like something to keep in the back of your mind. But yeah, that is all I have for this tutorial. There are, of course, other little quirks and stuff that I didn't really go into detail for, about just because of time. But hopefully this is helpful for any aspiring Q.U.B.E speedrunners who want to learn this category and start competing on the leaderboard. So yeah, that's it for me. This is Yansawa signing off, and I hope that you all have a great day.